Well, hello Internet. It's time to carry on with the detective notes for Cluedo. Today, I'm going to show you a little bit. First, I really want to fix these cards and get them listed. So I've just pulled up a list on the Internet here of the things I'm missing. And it turned out the thing I was missing here was the spanner. So in the weapons, at the end, I'm just going to stick on the spanner, also in quotes, spanner. And ballroom, huddies, hall, study, lounge, kitchen. So I got 5 of them. How many more do I need? Of the rooms: ballroom, study, hall, lounge, kitchen. Aha, so I'm missing the conservatory, billiard room, library and dining room. Conservatory, library, billiard room, and is it dining room? To think I'd miss out on food. And so that's all of the cards finally added. That's one of the things I was meant to do. The next thing I'm going to do, let's go back to our actual page and see the current situation. Now here we have this this list here of the things. To add an event, we have to run through this entire list, and then we have to click once here, and then click once here, click once, well, it's 2 clicks for each of those, and then click add event. So that's 11 clicks needed to add a single request, which isn't terribly helpful. I think we can do it better, and so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to convert this to a system that kind of brings up a list of all of the available things to click, starting with these, and just moves to the next. So we'll go from 11 clicks needed down to 5 in theory. To do that, we're going to need to put a different wrap on. I'm going to leave that old wrap there, mostly just to remind me how it all happens, but above that there's going to be a new div, and the class of this will be wrap as well, just to save me defining a whole lot of stuff about that. And inside here actually this one can have the ID directly, because I'm just gonna stick all of the buttons needed inside here, and this ID will be div, and I can't call it div event because I've already got that. Div event maker. And then when we click new game, it will set a few things. So let's go to our new game method, and in here, in the same way as we did our appending child for the selects and the askers, we are going to pull up, we'll call it MK area, which is the event maker area, game yeah, that makes sense. I'm gonna have to work above here, I think. I want to keep these a bit more separate. I think this should be separate actually. I think this is something that has to happen whatever, and we'll pull that above. And this is the event area, and that sets it to empty. I think we'll do the same for this one. Var mk area equals document dot get element by id div event maker, and then again we'll get rid of everything inside it. So I'll mk area dot has child nodes, we are going to ev area dot remove child ev, oh, it's not ev area, it's make area. Make area, and this will be make area dot last child. Okay, so we've got rid of that. So I'll put some comments on here actually, because I want to make sure I know what I'm talking about. This is the maker area. Now the maker area is going to have a slightly difficult, I have no idea what buttons just got me out of there. I was just happily pushing things in here. It's probably an escape thing. This is why I don't want to be working on Windows. There are too many things I dislike about it. I just currently don't have a powerful enough computer running Linux to be able to record at the same time as do. So as soon as I get that sorted, I will be working in Linux and be much happier. So we've got rid of that. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to fill out the buttons with all of the players. We have an array of players already, don't we? So in the same way as we filled out the select thing. In fact, really what we want to do is we want to have a method that looks a lot like that select button. Function make options. This will actually be called in a couple of places, so it should be handy to have. Calling it make options feels accurate. They're not going to be option in that sense though, so we're also still going to take an array. We're going to take a string, which is our message, and then we're going to take an array of options. And every single time we do this, we're going to refill that event area. So actually, perhaps the best place for this clearer is in here. Because the next thing we're going to do in here is create a bunch of buttons. So this is going to be a for I. I think it's just going to be a standard array of options, just so we will use I equals 0. I is less than options dot length I plus plus. And for each of these, how do you make a text element in I'm not completely sure, but I can probably get away with make area dot append child. Is it append child? Yeah, append child. Actually, because we've just cleared it out, Ha! This might actually work really tidily. Inner HTML equals stick a new line on there just for good measure, but shouldn't be needed. And then in here we can make these buttons should equals child equals for now it's going to be, I think, a button. Document dot create element, then we'll just make a button. I'm going to learn to type one of these days, you never know. There, child, create element button, and this button's going to need a couple of things. So we need to set its onClick method, and we need to set its text. So but dot inner HTML equals, we can do this, but dot inner HTML equals options I. There you go. But dot set attribute, and the attribute's name will be, I think it's onClick. I always get confused about whether it's onClick or click because it's a jQuery JavaScript mix up. And its onClick will be add option. No, no, do option. I don't know what to call this function. Card select plus options I. So the options need to be actual names here. It's going to choose the right function. And then the last thing we're going to do is make area.append. Make area.append child. But. And then back to our new game. We've cleared that, make it area. Actually, we can just do, what's it called? Something to do with options, right? Make options, and our message will be who suspects something. The plan with this, you see, who suspects someone, this will be the first option. First it'll be who suspects, and then it'll be what did they suspect, you know, through the three list, and then the last one will be who responded. For that, I guess we can add a no one to that. Who suspects something? Oh, and the other thing to go in the list will of course be our list of players. Okay, so we've got all of that. We can now make our method, which is called card select. Card select, and this will take a single string. What just happened there? Oh, something else going on there. Card select. Function card select. That confused me. That really threw me for a loop there. Something else was loading in the background. Options will be the name of the card, so it will just be option name. And actually, the first time that will be the player. And somewhere in this, we're going to need to have a private variable for the card select function. So I'm actually just going to put that in the game. Where do we first set the game up? The game. Let's add a new variable. Option state equals 0. So what we're going to have to do is I'm putting it in there because I don't want to overrun too much other namespace stuff, and it feels like it's relevant to the game. But this is where I'm keeping track of what, because we're going to keep changing, running through the 3 main options. I want to make sure we can keep track of which bits we've actually added. In fact, I think I'm better off composing, and that's the event we're composing, and that will now equal null in this language, isn't it? Null. So now we have a thing called the composing dot, and we won't use that right now, but we will use that very shortly. Now, right now I'm just going to do a console.log and make sure that we are getting card select called, and the option is so card select colon plus option name. And in theory, when we try and run this, Control R, 4 players, new game. There we go, we've got an error. So Control Shift I, let's bring up the console. Make area is not defined. Did I not move that one up? Ha! How silly. Control R, new game. So we have this div, but that was wrong. Okay, let's undo that. Undo again so that it's still there. The thing I needed up here instead was, of course, make area equals document dot get element by ID. And it was div underscore event maker semicolon. Now when I refresh this and click new game, who suspects something? There we go. So we just got one click and then you should end up with the console log card select 1, card select 2, card select 3, card select 1. Perfect. So the very act of suspecting something should change these buttons, but we'll we're working with an event that doesn't yet know. How are the events currently stored? Is it just when we make an event, do we just have a list of cards involved in the event? Yeah, it's just an array of asked cards, isn't it? So in our card select thing, we no longer need this. What we need instead at the end of this is we're going to do if the game dot, and what did we call this new thing? It was in composing. That's a slightly odd name, but it'll do. Composing is equal to null. Then the game.composing equals, and we'll make a new object here that holds the things we need. Firstly, ask so if it's null, then we're going to be adding the asker. So asker colon we're okay here. The asker becomes option name. Not console.log. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to make options, right? So make options and this will be choose plus b cards 0. No. Ah. That's actually a little bit of a problem that I hadn't thought of, because I actually just used a straight up, when I made B cards, it's actually an object where these are assigned by things, so I can't actually just choose the first one. It's stored as, so how do I get the options? I think I actually need to create a separate thing. B card types equals, and this is going to be a little bit frustrating to have to do this, because I was enjoying having it only in one place. And rooms. The reason I'm doing this in a separate list, I mean, I probably could create the list automatically, but the reason I'm doing it this way is because I feel like there's a natural order, and if these are stored in a hash map, I can't guarantee the order they'll come out. But here, I've chosen an order. This is the array order, and this is the order I'm going to go through, asking bcard for its options. So bcard types, and they obviously, these guys will have to be exactly the same as the names of the weapons, because if they're not the same, then it won't be able to find them. I might do something about that later, where I actually make a thing for the user to select them, but I won't worry about that right now. My current concern, therefore, is back to wherever it is I'm working, the card selector. So it's now going to be bcard types naught. Obviously we need a space plus quote colon you know, what would be really nice would be to have the string on top. I'm going to put an actual BR down at the end of this. To actually say, oh, we can totally do this. Layer space. Oh, plus option name plus, and inside this plus we need another quote, and this will be suspects colon and here we're sending through bcard types 0, and that is the array, close brackets, semicolon. We'll write that and see what we get. Control R. So, new game with 4 players. Who suspects something? Player 2 suspects. Oh, that's perfect. Reference error. Mustard is not defined. Have a quick peek at where this is complaining about. I should be trying to call card select with options, and then option name should be logged. Did it actually make it to the console at all? Card select 2. Green is not defined. So the number made it through. It's not really showing us where the error is. I didn't need mustard or green to be defined, I just needed them to be a string. Ah! It was able to cope with a number, but it wasn't able to cope with a reference. There we go. Now I've put the 2 in a string. When I actually get this one, option name, I probably need to have something like pass. Pretty sure that function exists like that. So if I now control R this, does it still work? New game. Missing bracket after property list, detectives, 72. Oh, why did I feel I needed a semicolon there? Okay, that's fine. Control R. New game. So we got everything here. Who suspects someone? Player 2 suspects. Did that happen? Did player 2 get the console log? Yep. Player 2 suspects green. Brilliant. Ah. I'm quite enjoying the idea of making a whole sentence at the top, so that when I do player 2 suspects and then we choose, then it will make this line longer. But that means having another list again with the B card stuff, or somehow connecting these two. We have suspects before this guy. And then before this guy, it needs to be with the and in the. I think I'm just going to add these here. With the. In the. Adding them here isn't quite ideal, but I can survive it. People with the weapons in the room. See, that almost makes grammatical sense. And if that makes grammatical sense, we can probably do something a bit fancy for making that string. And that happens in card select, where we actually need to make that string in general. So here it's just going to be whatever the message wants to be, but here we get to build it up a little bit. So at that point we're going to return. We don't want to deal with that anymore. And composing is also going to have, no, we were okay. We decided that we could base it on the length of options. So what do we call it in the actual event? Add event. Ask cards. So that's the array we're going to use here, and it's just a list of cards. So we'll set in the card select. We're going to set ask cards, and we'll set that to an empty array. Clear out these. And then we can just work, in the rest of these, we're going to work up to the length of the current array. And if we complete that, then we need to work out who responds. So there, message equals player plus option name plus, oh, and it's not option name anymore. This now actually has to be, let's get composing, comp equals the game dot composing. Just don't want to have to write that too many times. Comp dot asker plus suspects and that's the beginning of it. For I, no, yeah, we can do it with an I, can't we? There, I equals 0. I is less than comp dot ask cards dot length I plus plus. Yep, that's fine. We times it by 2 and we'll still get the right place, and if we times it by 2 and add 1, we'll get the in-betweeny message. So the first thing we need is message plus equals ask comp dot ask cards I. Message plus equals comp dot, no, it's not that, it's b card types, and it's at I times 2 plus 1. That should happen in the right order, but I don't like to trust these things without a little bit of stuff. So I times 2 plus 1. So if I is 0, that's 1. If I is 1, that will be 3. And 0, 2, and 4 are the appropriate places. I think this means that we're going to need to have a who responds question in that array. So that will make my life a little bit tidier. Yeah, I knew that this was going to be a tricky thing to write. And I'm really struggling to keep hold of all of the little bits. But we do need to go through ask cards and add that. In fact, I'm almost tempted to do that first. But the question, there is a question I need to know first before I can actually do this. And that is, if the number of cards I already have matches the number of options B cards has. Because if I already have that, so it's if the game dot composing, we really need to pull that out sooner. We're clearly working with that. Oh no, that's why we can't do that here. We can do that here. And then if comp dot ask cards dot length is greater than, no, we only need to know if it's equal. It's equal to comp dot, no, b cards dot length. In this case, we've already got all of the important, we're just getting the responder. And so it becomes comp dot responder equals option name. Then we add this to the events, so it's the game.events.add comp, and I think it's push because it's an array, not add. Is it push or append? I've definitely done this somewhere before. Ask cards dot push and the game dot events dot push. At this point, we then clear our message thing, restart, and return. So we clear. So it's the game.compose composing equals null. The game dot, oh no, then we redo make options, and this time it's who suspect something. Oh, and this needed to be the list of players, didn't it? An array that doesn't currently exist. Should players just be an array that exists as part of the game? No, I think it's probably better if I just remake that array. I equals 0, I is less than the game dot players dot length. This isn't ideal, but I want to make sure it all comes through the same system. So tell you what, why don't we just make players global? No. They're players. We should really. Let's just stick players in the game. Now wherever we see players, we need to add the game dot so back up to where we were. We've now added play as up there, which means we have a bit less work to do in our card select. The game.composing and then we can just use the game.play as. Now play, yeah. But that's not going to happen. We're not even going to get to that stage unless we can have oh, and the thing that happens here is the game.askCards.push. Did I happen that at the bottom? No. And that would be option name. this was going to return. That's how we know we're in the right place here. And in here, the last thing we need is also to make options. And the message here will be message, clearly. The options can't be, it's got to be B cards, and it's got to be at comp.askcards.length plus 1. No, it's just length. So if we've got one card, we want to get from entry 1. Yeah. This will, of course, throw an error when it gets to the last case where it adds 1. Let's deal with that now. If B cards, if the game.askcards.length is greater than B cards is greater than or equal to B cards.length, the list we're now going to send is players. And that will be a return as well, so it will be make options message. But now it's not B cards, it's players. The game.players. The game.players. And we will return. In the last case, where the message is all compiled, okay, I think this might actually work. Let's see. Refresh. New game. Who suspects something? Okay, player 1 suspects. Player 1 suspects mustard. The game.askcards is undefined. Yes, it is undefined. That should be comp. Okay. So far so good. Who suspects someone? Player 1 suspects mustard. I thought I fixed that. Control R, new game. Player 1 suspects mustard. Where's this 2 then? 93. 93. Control R, new game. Player 2 suspects mustard. B capital cards, 93. New game. Who suspects someone? Player 2 suspects mustard. With the, oh, brilliant. But something went wrong. Options is undefined. That's on line 57. So I must have sent something wrong. Here. Oh, of course. Bcard types. Oh dear. L var L equals comp dot ask cards dot length. L times 2 plus, no, just times 2. Yeah, I hope that works. I'll take some fighting with if it doesn't this time. Mustard with the lead pipe in the conservatory. Who responds? Just to see this again, player 0. Suspects white with the lead pipe in the conservatory. In theory, this should be going here, but I think this is failing. Bcards.length should be 3. Askcards.length should also be 3. So let's get this to log. And here we should go console.log not last. Okay, control out this. So if we go new game, who suspects someone? Player 1. So when we do this, we should get a not last. Yep, the candlestick not last. Now I think this time we should get a last. And that's where the problem is. It's gone not last, but it should say last. So I'm slightly surprised by this because I can't see how we've already pushed the new value on. So its length has to be 3. Okay, so plus, and then it will be comp.ask cards. Let's see if it will turn that into a string nice and tidy for me. Control L. game. So if I do this, mustard candlestick, mustard candlestick conservatory. So that is definitely 3 long. Mustard candlestick conservatory. So how long let's have comp.askCards.length plus quote, comma, quote plus bcards.length. And obviously I need to have a P there. Not one of those, a P would be more appropriate. And we'll run this, Control R. New game. 1. Undefined. Undefined. Well, greater than. Ah. So why is bcards.length undefined? Oh. Well. Times 2 plus 1 is greater than bcard types dot length. That's bad. That's really bad. New game. So, who suspects something? Player 3 suspects mustard with the candlestick in the kitchen. Who responded? Player 3. Not quite sure where the undefined came from there. Not sure how the message is growing. Is the message not defined as no, it's defined as a variable inside here. Let's say who suspects something anymore? No, it doesn't. Let's have a look, see if the event has actually been added. So in the console, the game.events is an empty array by the looks of things. Oh, because of course bcards.length doesn't exist. This here is if it already equals it. I think I'm just going to need to find out bcards.length, which is not a tidy thing to do, but probably easier than other options. There, blen equals bcard types dot length over 2. And then we can replace this with blen this should be blen as well. And if we go back, new game, who suspects something? Player 2 suspects mustard with the candlestick in the kitchen. Who responded? Player 3. And we're back to the beginning. And in our events list we have events, oh no, it's the game. The game.events now has a single array in there. If we look at that, we have asker was 2, responder was 3, ask cards, mustard, candlestick, kitchen. Brilliant. So if I do this again, but if same player asks, who responded? 3. So this time 2 is going to ask for mustard, candlestick, but this time lounge, and this time 2 is going to respond. He is going to respond himself. Do we have any facts on the board? We should have a fact. Did it ever call calculate table? Did I forget to add that? It doesn't have calculate table. So let's see what happens if I hit calculate table. Calculate table. There we go. So it's all on there. It's not very pretty, but I'm going to get rid of, very quickly, I'm going to get rid of the other system of adding events, and then I'm going to add the calculate table method here. I'll do that here. Okay, calculate table, semicolon. And the other thing we're going to do is we're going to find the other system we originally had for adding events, because now that we've got this much tidier one, we don't need that. And that was our div events here. We no longer need that. We no longer need anything for the EV area. I'm pretty sure we don't need the make select option anymore, but I won't get rid of that right now. And the add event method, that's the one that goes through all of those things, so we don't need that anymore. Now we come back here and we refresh. We have 4 players, new game. Who suspects something? Player 0 suspects Scarlet with the rope in the ballroom, and nobody responds. So now we know everybody doesn't have these things. And then player 0 suspects the same, Scarlet, rope, but this time in the hall. And this time player 2 responds. And now we know for certain that player 2 has the hall. This still needs making prettier, and I still want to have a thing that adds the cards, but I'm pretty much done for today. This has been quite a lot of work to get this done. So, all done on this project for today. See you soon. Oh, don't forget to like and subscribe.